Uh, uh. Good morning. Good morning.
Hey everybody, what's up? It's the Morning Deuce. I'm D-Spin. I'm not really sure where today's episode is going to go. I had a plan. I'm hoping to hit the plan. But right before I decided to record this, I saw a live stream of someone dying, which by now I'm sure almost everyone is aware of. The incident that happened in Minnesota with the police officer shooting what sounds like about 4 times a guy in a car in the arm, and he dies eventually. In Falcon Heights, it's all over the internet. Basically, I'm not going to rehash it. You've seen it. You've probably seen what happened. If not, you've read about it. What a crazy example of where we are in 2016, though, that this woman's boyfriend is shot and she chooses to live stream to Facebook because it's the only way she feels like she can get her message out unfiltered, I would assume. Which is weird that's sadly where people's heads are at. You know, I mean, I didn't think she cared any less for this guy. I just thought it's unbelievable remark on our culture that that's where your head goes in a situation like that. But the thing is, I'm just going to say a couple things that are in my head. I mean, first off, it is so sad. It is so disturbing and it is so unfortunate to watch someone, inevitably lose their life, to watch somebody else lose someone they care about, to watch what's like a 4 or 5-year-old girl trying to comfort this mother figure during this situation, and to listen to a police officer who clearly sounds like he realizes his life is never the same. And he'd probably give anything in the world to go back 2 minutes, just like everybody else in the scenario. It's crazy to witness that. Uncomfortable, just puts your head in a weird spot. But I think the thing is, this isn't something that's new. The reality is, this is something that's been going on for a long time. It's just something that is more visible. And I think we sometimes confuse heightened awareness for actual heightened presence of something. We think because we know and hear about something more often, it must be happening more often. But that's not necessarily the case at all. Police shootings and particularly, black shootings by police officers, it's not a bigger problem. It's not a new problem. It's because it's 2016. Everyone has cameras. The phone is a communication device more than a telephone. It's a camera for everything. We can't ignore it anymore. We can't ignore it. I mean, it's always been a problem, but now everyone gets the opportunity to see the problem unfiltered in that moment. And that's what we're giving ourselves. It's a crazy amount of knowledge. And with that much knowledge comes, power, fear, concern. It's a lot to think about. It's an absolute lot to think about. I think that if you're the type of person who is saying that if everyone in the, if enough people were able to carry weapons in the Orlando nightclub, then the shooting would have not been as damaging. But you're also the same person saying that this guy shouldn't have had a gun, which we believe is registered at this point in time. I don't understand your thought process. To me, that's just like saying, we trust a club of more or less people who aren't minorities against a brown minority person if they have weapons, but we never trust a minority person with a weapon against a white person. I mean, that's what I hear in that logic, and maybe that's wrong, and maybe that's me being simple-minded, but I just don't understand those two things. how can you say that if guns were allowed in one spot by legal, smart gun owners, but then someone else who legally owns a gun in another situation is held to a different standard by that doesn't make sense to me. But yeah, I don't think racism or violence or brutality is worse now, is more divided since President Obama took office. I think we're just more aware. It's everywhere because of social media. It's everywhere because of cameras. And it's at the forefront because we have our first minority president ever. And I think we sometimes confuse those things. Yeah, it's a strange world, man. That's basically all I have to say about that. I'm going to go on to the other things I was going to talk about. And what I was going to talk about today was actually some pretty contemplative stuff anyway. So it's going to be a little heavier. You know, sometimes they're funny, sometimes they're light. But I was what I wanted to talk today was about thresholds, where the threshold is for something. The balance point. And I don't really know the answers. I'm just going to kind of talk about them. So what I mean by a threshold is like, we talk about encouragement from like a parent to a child or a older sibling to a younger sibling. Encouragement and happiness, like a participation trophy versus, encouragement by giving a first place or second place ribbon and nothing to someone who's didn't succeed in the same way so they can be incentivized to succeed, right? And then we have that whole support with participation versus realism. So somebody, a little kid, a kid wants to be so good and be a professional baseball player, but they might not have any of the skill sets. They might not be truly gifted at that. Where is that threshold? How old do they become? How old do they have to become, or how bad or not good, I guess, do they have to be before you switch from your encouragement of their participation to your encouragement of their realistic goals and maybe shifting to something they're naturally talented at? I think that's a really interesting question. I mean, if a 9-year-old loves to play baseball and thinks they're going to go professional, but they have a ton of skills in math, how do you balance that? Where's the threshold? I mean, how do you, and they don't like math. How do you work that? There's a lot of other thresholds that I've been thinking about. I think the balance point's probably different for everyone, but another one was compromising versus selling out. We always think like, oh, you don't want to sell out, you don't want to compromise your values, but it's important to do things for others. So what if you're selling out at your job? What if you're compromising your values at your job, working somewhere that you don't necessarily love or doesn't challenge you, isn't what you want, but you outweigh your balance because you get to travel a lot more in your life, because you get a lot more free time, because you get time with your family, because you get, food stability. We do anything to survive, but at the same point, you don't want to settle. You don't want to give up on your dream. So where is the threshold in your life for the difference between compromising and selling out? I think that's an important thing to kind of figure out, how we can meet our pros and cons, our yin and yang of a lot of things. Another threshold I thought of is the threshold between ignorance and empathy. And this is a big one to me. I think, let's say someone is the son of a KKK leader, and they're 7, 8, 9, you can understand and maybe even empathize why they might have narrow-minded thoughts in terms of people with other races, other creeds, etc., right? So you might understand the way that they're thinking because of the upbringing, the values instilled in them, that they don't have an open-mindedness because they don't maybe have experience with people of other cultures, races. But at what age do you start holding them accountable for having thoughts that are maybe narrow-minded and you feel like are ignorant? I mean, is it 13, 14, where you're like, oh, this person should start to realize that this isn't the way they're thought, they should fight back against their values? And is it different if, your dad is the leader of the KKK versus you just kind of come from a family where there's some sort of ingrained racism. It's like, oh, the racism's not that heavy. Maybe around 13, 14, he should start to loosen up, as opposed to like his family is the institution of, what this white power sect means. So he's never going to get it until 15, 16, 17. Where's our threshold for that? I mean, I think 16, but then my mom didn't even want me to drive. She wouldn't let me get my license at 16. And it wasn't because I wasn't ready. It was because she wasn't ready to let me have that amount of independence, probably more so than I wasn't ready to have it. But that's so young. Like, where's your threshold for making someone be accountable and educated more than ignorant? And it streamlines farther than that. What about a child born into ISIS, right? A little kid who's made into a child soldier by ISIS, probably doing horrible things as a small child, but you can't hold them accountable for what is ultimately brainwashing. I mean, they know nothing else, right? 7, 8 years old, they know nothing else. The people that feed them, love them, make them survive, get them through life are the people instilling these values in them. Values and values and values. And as they grow up, when do you expect them to be able to change these values? Because changing those values is ultimately could be a death sentence for them. 13, 14. And then we have bombs dropping, killing people that they love and they care about. And even though they might not be good people, to them, they might be, because they might be the only people that have cared about them. And that's probably not going to eradicate those values that they have. So when they're 15, 16, 17, and that's all they've known, where is that threshold where we start to not care anymore about educating someone or care about the way that they were brought up and the product of the environment they are, and we still hold them accountable to the decisions they're making? That's just where are the thresholds in your life between making healthy choices but also enjoying yourself? You want to eat healthy, you want to live long, but you want to enjoy the life that you're living. You don't want to think about every single food item you're putting in your body to the point of physical exhaustion, of mental depreciation, of health anxiety. But you want to make healthy choices because you want to, live a long, healthy life. Where is the balance there? Where's the threshold? I think a lot of it starts with communication and education. It's hard to imagine that someone like me, who has a family that has a very wide range of people of race, gender, sexual orientation, etc., how could my values and understanding possibly be the same as someone who has only known one thing their entire life? I mean, I had a brother who moved here from Afghanistan who lived with me for a year as a exchange student. There's no way we could have the same understanding. We just had to understand where each other's values were, but I couldn't have expectations for his thought process, right? So do I hold that accountable for him? I mean, he was 16. He was old enough to travel across the world without any of his family members. Do I hold him accountable for narrow views that he had? Who knows? Does he hold me accountable for ignorant views I had of, his race, religion, part of the world, people? I just think it's things we should contemplate. I think sometimes we're so stuck in our own thought process and our own experiences, and we are a product of our own experiences. Maybe we're not using that to empathize with others. And I think empathy with others is truly an important factor to getting the most out of someone else in your relationship with them. I think that's it. This has been heavy today. I think that's it. For part 2, I just want to say one thing that I thought of. If you guys listen to that interview I did with my friend Derek, he's great. He does all the life coaching and the positive psychology. He's just phenomenal. But we talked about the wall of inspiration, which I've been adding to. It's just a wall of goals and thoughts and things that make me happy and feel inspired and feel invigorated. And one of them that came to me today, they come at random times, but the thought was the Triple H, which obviously is the famous wrestler, but it's the Triple H, and it was if these three things are in line, and you're keeping these three things in a line, you're in a good spot. And I wrote it up on the wall, the Triple H. The first one is heart. If your heart's in the right place, if your emotions are in the right place, if your love is in the right place, then things are good. If you're checked up on your heart, you're good. The second H is head. If you're thinking right, if your head's in the right spot, if you're mentally in the right spot, if you're focused, if you're driven, if you have goals, if you're mentally in sync, then you're doing good. If you checked off both of those two boxes, you're doing really, really well. And number three, the third H is home. And I don't mean home as in the building itself. I mean home as in the family, as in the people, as in the ones that you care about. If the people you care about and your relationship with them, if the people in your home, in your family, if your relationship with them is good, if you have those three things, your heart, your head, and your home, they're set, and you can keep those things set and keep them 100, then you're probably in a good spot. I've heard before body, brain, business, which I guess is a little bit the same. But for me, it's more about people than business. But I understand the concept. Just something to think about. And the other thing that made the wall, and how we're going to end this today, is for some reason, I've been in a zone the last week where I've been listening to Chance the Rapper's third mixtape, which is just really good. To me, at least, the mix of rap and hip hop and gospel it's just really hitting me in the right spot. And one of the lines he says, "Are you ready for your miracle?" And that kind of hit me in an interesting spot because it's like, miracles do happen all the time, right? We all get fortunate situations or things that happen the way that we want them to. But are we prepared to make the most of those opportunities? Are we ready? Is our head, our heart, and our home in the best possible situation so when we get an opportunity for a miracle, we can see it, we can observe it, we know it's there, we know how to act on it, we know how to build with it. Because if you're not in a great place, you're not built to get the most out of that miracle, then you might not really understand it or even see it's there to begin with at all. So are you ready for it when it happens? And that made the wall. Because I think if you have your Triple H's in line, you're probably in a good spot to be ready for whatever good fortune comes your way. So that's it for the Morning Deuce. I'm going to play us out with one of the songs from Chance's rap, from Chance's mixtape coloring book, because it's just so good. And it goes with the vibe of what we're talking about today. About life, about, death, about thresholds, about keeping it together. So it's been the Morning Deuce. I got a great guest for us tomorrow. Ironically, on a week like this, I'm bringing in a political guest, which will be very interesting, and I think something that a lot of people will like to listen to. I'm out. Morning Deuce. Hashtag tell your hot friends.
Angel. I got my city doing front flips. When every father mayor rapper jump ship. I guess that's why they call it where I stay. Clean up the streets so my daughter can have somewhere to play. I'm the blueprint to a real man. Some of these niggas toss they tassel for a deal, man. I ain't going to hell or the hill, man. For my real fans. I got caught up with a Lil Xan. Couldn't stop me, but it slowed me though. Yeah, nigga famous, you don't know me though. But their DJ still play me though. Them I don't even need the radio. My new shit sound like a rodeo. Got the old folks dancing the dope. So they fuck around, sign me the OVO. Ooh, I just might share my next one with Keith. Got the industry in disbelief. They be asking for beef. This what it sound like when God split an atom with me. I even had Steve giving out apples for free. They was talking, woo, this is what the band. City so damn great, I feel like Alexander. Way on Halo like a hat, that's like the latest fashion. I got angels all around me, they keep me surrounded. Who is you and who the fuck is you and who is him? All of a sudden, who after them? You can't touch me, nah. I got angels. I ain't changed my number since the 7th grade. This from my day A weak niggas never tired on their Kevin Gates. And if they rest in peace, they bunny hop in heaven's gates. It's too many young angels on the south side. Got us scared to let our grandmamas outside. You gon' make me take the campus way downtown. You gon' make me turn my BM to my house wide. I just had a growth spurt. It done took so long my tippy toes hurt. You can keep the nose ring. I don't have to soul search. I'm still at my old church. Only ever sold merch. Grandma say I'm kosher. Mama say I'm culture. GCI 1075. Angel going live. Bowing 92. Angel Juke. Angel gone juke. GCI 1075. Going live. Bowing 92. Angel going juke. Juke.
Niggas talking woo. This who off the bed. City so damn great, I feel like Alexander. Way on halo like a hat, that's like the latest fashion. I got angels all around me, they keep me surrounded. I got angels all around me, they keep me surrounded.
I got angels.
Niggas talking woo, this who off the bed. City so damn great, I feel like Alexander. Way on halo like a hat, that's like the latest fashion. I got angels all around me, they keep me surrounded.
Who is you and who is them? All of a sudden, who